We're just going to intro with Snow Owl. It's about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then we'll be back.
Barren, it waits. Without beat, it still breathes. With touch, it does not feel. And it has been years since another has looked into the eyes of this soul. Oh, the many that pray. But what are prayers that dribble down lips without faith? What an act of rebellion it is to say, I have been taken by fear. The only feeling I have secretes my scars. So now, I shall sit here and bleed. A snow owl appeared and whispered to the tired one, don't let them fool you. When you hear God, a voice will emerge through a brook of silence, a stream that rests at the center of your heart. And when you see God, you will be no more.
Let the love bombs begin.
Hey, you.
What? I love that shit.
I know that's one of your favorite ones. And then I also wore my green for you.
What's the crack? Embracing your inner Irish.
So what a lot of people don't know is that you and I are celebrating our 5-week friendversary.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's so funny. Yeah.
This last Wednesday. So I thought it would be so cool to just, tell the story about how I came across your energy. And so when I was in Sedona with Brother Todd and Sister Morgan, Todd did a show and he introed with, I think, by reading one of your poems, and it was called Drama Queen. And I loved it. I thought it was like one of the most beautiful, most powerful pieces that I'd ever heard. So I spent the next couple of days, like, I didn't even ask him, I should have asked him, but I spent the next couple of days looking everywhere for the poem. So I was like typing in Drama Queen, and it wasn't like coming up on Facebook. And then like, I think I just stopped. And a few days later, you private messaged me. And then I was like, I know you. Like, I've been looking for you.
Yeah.
And so we ended up connecting. And I thought something that would be really beautiful to set the tone would be if you could read that poem for us.
In the deep end. Wow. This is how we roll, though, isn't it? Yeah. I messaged you because I came across something that you had posted. I think I wrote something like, this has to be one of the most perfect things I've ever heard in my life. Not knowing that you had heard that piece. So it's a bit random. And I would get very nervous then every time you turn around and say something complimentary about what I write, because, for me, they were in two different spaces. And what I've come to understand over the last couple of weeks is we're speaking from the same place, just from two different vantage points. So even though I'm nervous as shit, and I am, I'll read it.
You're doing great.
I've never done this. I've jumped on with Todd and stuff. I've always been very nervous, but I've never shared these pieces of me. So it's a dodgy space to be in. It's quite vulnerable because anything that I've created, I guess, has come from a place of conflict and turmoil, of drama, as it says in the title. So to share it is, it's cool, but it's scary. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Shit, he does this to me all the time for anyone watching. He always puts me on the spot like this, and I just tried not to come bust. All the time. In private like this, it's the exact same thing, and I die. Unbalanced in your world, don't come and shake up mine. Confused, conflicted, in turmoil, your world is yours, and my world is mine. I will open my mouth. I will speak my truth. I get to feel how I feel. I get to choose what I choose. You don't see through my eyes or feel through my heart. Don't dare tell me how I feel doesn't matter. Then disregard your own part. I'm not an emotional punch bag or willing to take low blow verbal shots. I won't be sacrificing myself anymore, playing small, in order for you to feel enough. I won't be allowing your projections, your unhealed story, to penetrate my heart as you continue to bleed all over me over things I didn't start. Stop mistaking my kindness as weakness. I understand now fully my own worth. Remember, your judgments of me are cloaked ones, concealing all that's dormant within you, the unacknowledged, the forgotten about. You tell me I'm the problem because I speak my truth. You see me as the enemy as I hold a mirror up to you. You tell me I'm projecting as you refuse point blank to see that I am you and you are me, and that together we are we. You tell me I'm overreacting when my body signals residual pain, communicating that my needs aren't being met, my weary body trying to point me in the right way. You ask me what's my issue as you disregard my heart, saying things that cut right through me, not giving your harsh words as much as a second thought. Take responsibility for your words and actions and leave me to address mine. Take accountability and ownership for the times when you were out of line. Yes, it's easier to brand me the emotional, overdramatic drama queen, but maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't in fact me. For far too long, we've kept our silence over the things we didn't say. Instead, we have harbored resentment and bitterness over the past, over yesterday. The time is now to speak your truth, to use your voice and say, I'm sorry, but this ends now. My inner power, it's here to stay.
I love that. There's a quote that I came across. One of my friends said it to me a while back, and it was, and I don't know it perfectly, but it's, we choose to forget for the sheer joy of remembering. The spirit. Something that I love about you and that really resonates, and I know resonates with everyone, is not only is there pure raw emotion and energy in everything you write, but you have been very clear when you create and when you talk about your creation that everything you write is for yourself and to yourself.
I see that very much now. When it's 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm writing something like that, not so much. And I think we're all guilty of that. We're guilty of projecting. It's easier to look outside of us to put the blame or whatever it is for us feeling on levels like that with someone else or something else.
Right.
But over the last week in particular, I've realized, really looking backwards at all of the things that I've written in those moments, that something in me peaked. And I'm writing maybe with a focus on one thing in that initial moment, but it's the sum culmination of everyone or everything or every experience that I've ever endured coming out in something like that, if that makes sense.
Yes.
After a day or two, when I read back on it, that's when I see I'm talking to myself. And what I now, I guess, have acknowledged in these pieces, because I don't see myself as a writer, I don't see myself as a poet, I don't see myself as anything. I just I feel, and I let these emotions now course through me, that these verses or words or whatever way you want to put them are now a conversation between the distorted and the divine aspects of myself. One trying to, I suppose, show itself to the other. Yes. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. Well, I think what we're seeing collectively, which is a reflection of what's happening inside of each of us, is that as our true power starts to manifest, and our true power is the embodiment of the deepest dimension of who we are at our core, which is love. Not only is it restructuring the entire world, but it's restructuring how we relate to the world. So when I hear that, you feel the pain and the brokenness, and you feel the wounds, right? But you also understand that as you move through the progression of those wounds, that simultaneously you also were the one that has asked for everything. You asked for this experience. You called it into physical manifestation. You wanted the exchange. You asked for the heartache. You asked because in each crack of the heart, right, the light was starting to pierce through. And I know for myself, I've also struggled with I guess I would call it like the righteous indignation when writing comes through righteously. There's times where I'll conceptualize after the heart has taken a breath, and then the mind wants to come in and start analyzing what's happened. But it can't really understand what's happened because they're experiencing the world from two different dimensions until they move back into unison. And so I understand your progression. What do you feel, what has been the most painful experience, or one of the most that you feel comfortable sharing, painful experiences that shook you to your core, where your perception started to merge in unison with the one heart, the universe, love, consciousness, whatever you'd call it? What was that experience that shook you?
Wow. I think each and every person out there wants to love and be loved. And I'll be completely honest, I can't pinpoint one specific thing at this stage, because as you've just said, I've orchestrated a lot of shit in my world to take me to this place that I'm in now. But what I will say is, any time that I wasn't seen for who I truly am, and not by another, but by myself, has been the most heartbreaking thing. Like, over the years, if we're human, we literally become our environment. We become the people we surround ourselves by. We become the things around us via these programs, and they run us without us even realizing it. And I don't think it was until I really started to peel back those layers, in order to rediscover who I am, that I could actually stop breaking my own heart. Because like I said, it's easy for me to turn around and say to you, Michael, you're an asshole. But if I'm sitting here allowing it, then that's on me. If I sit here and allow it because I think I deserve it, or because it's all I've ever known, or because everybody else did it, then I'm going to be in this place for the rest of my life. And I just wasn't willing to keep breaking my own heart. Simple. I don't know if that answers that, because that was a bit of a whopper question.
No, it does answer it. I think that relationship right now, like I feel it. And, I've been talking about this a lot lately, but it's what I'm experiencing. So it feels so relevant to me, is where even in our relationship, you're one of my best friends. And it's really hard for my mind to fathom that we've only known each other for 5 weeks. But my heart understands that I'm experiencing a feeling of wholeness. And I love how Morgan talks about we're moving into the Trinity and out of duality. And what that means is that our consciousness is no longer bisected, where aspects of the spirit were experiencing the physical world, but the other aspects were fragmented energetics, whether that's guilt, shame, heartache, trauma, envy, jealousy, right? Now moving into the Trinity, and all of us are moving back into congruence, back into equilibrium. We're starting to move into alignment with other humans that are moving back into equilibrium. And something you and I actually, something we continuously do with each other is we have a hard time taking compliments from each other. Like you'll, oh my God, I was watching your poem, blah, blah, blah. And then I just kind of like pull away from the phone. And then when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just read your new post. And then you're like, stop. You know what I mean? But what's fascinating to me is, yes, there's a point where we stop breaking our own hearts, but we also remember that we've chosen to break our hearts because and I think Morgan said this, we're afraid of our own power, or we're afraid of our own light, right? So it's like, even in this moment, like we're reflecting each other's light, right? You and I were both nervous before we came on because we're both starting to learn how to, do all this and to share, in front of people. But it's like those relationships were constantly, when we weren't loved and when we weren't seen, they were showing us where we didn't love and see ourselves.
I know. So then tell me, how is it possible?
Are you turning this on me?
No, yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I was going to say, tell me how it's possible then, right? In that knowing of what we endured, to ever, judge somebody who's in a place that we've been.
Right.
I feel pretty blessed in my life to have the people around me that I have. I've got some exceptional people who love the shit out of me for me just as I am. And I'm seeing this. And I don't say this lightly because you know what I'm like. I'm awkward on any given day. But I can finally see the love that I am being reflected in me with the people who are around me right now. For people who trigger me, who, God, project at me, who aren't aware, I really have, and I have so much love. I'm in awe looking at these people, because it allows me then to look back at where I was. And just be love, if possible. I'm human, you're human. I'm not always going to get it right, but I will tell you, if I'm wrong, I will own my shit. I will take accountability and responsibility for myself, because I spent years putting that back on somebody else, or blaming this or the moon or the stars or you or whatever, for all of the things that were wrong. I never understood fully that it was all in my hands, or like you said a few minutes ago, that I've orchestrated this so that I would get to this point where I would remember I am made of star stuff, and I'm human, and I'm not always going to get it right. But if I can merge that gap somehow for even one person, so that they don't feel so separate in a world that's designed to keep us separate, then it's mission accomplished. Yeah. So here we are.
Yeah. I I love what you're speaking to, because there is a dimension of compassion that opens up in the heart. It cannot be conceptualized. You can only experience it when enough pain has reached transmutation. And then that compassion expands and you start to function from a different level of perception. You see your world and your reality as yours, where you solely have created with the one will for the sake of birthing the soul and the spirit merged back together and having an entirely new experience where everything is you again, like it will be forever. And to go back and slightly answer your question, what I'm coming to realize, and I was talking a little bit about this with Morgan, what I'm coming to realize, and it really hit through the Lionsgate, is I'm experiencing the world in a completely different way. And at times it's a little disorienting, but I no longer see things as separate. I remember I was so unconsciously attached to my own stories, right? I had a brain injury, I that. And then realizing that every experience was an initiation, and all of these thresholds created a bridge. And the only way to be liberated is to cross this bridge. And so I think that there's something that happens when we cross this bridge. We're governed by deeper laws. They're all laws, right? Like, so you have the law of the mirror is going to continuously mirror until the mirror is no longer needed because you fall into a deeper dimension of yourself. And I think that for me, when I read your writing, it resonates so deeply because your writing carries the vibrational signature of a bridge. You're creating a bridge, and your heart is literally a hand. It's turning into a hand that's carrying all of us, holding all of us while we cross this bridge into a deeper dimension of self. I would really love for you to share, I forgot the name of it, but it's my piece with the battered heart. That's one of my favorite ones.
Oh, thank God. You better feel loved. God. I don't even know where these come from. I don't. And you know what? Like, for me, because they're for me, right? How greedy am I? I love them because they allow me to catch a breath, and they tell me all the time to go easy on myself. Like this one. It was The Storm. Isn't that the one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wrote this. It was like a really shitty stormy night here in Ireland a couple of months ago. And I just lay in my bed, all tucked up, cozy, and listened to the rain belt off the window. Pure silence. And I was like, wow, how cool is a storm? And I wrote this. For that is what a storm teaches you. That everything in your life can feel calm one minute, and in the blink of an eye, everything can be uprooted and descend into absolute chaos the next. And the only way to reach that place of calm again is to see through the turbulence and uncertainty of that storm with presence as it rages until you eventually get to witness and experience that silence again, that peace, that quiet and stillness, where once again you can hear the beat of your battered, powerful, resilient heart. I'm awful sorry I laugh at the end of all those things. I'm just first nervous.
No, I love it. Everyone can feel you, and everyone's in awe of you, like I am. Because
do not love bomb me. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
I'm about to love bomb you.
No.
Because when when you entered my life, you and a few people, it's been an experience where I'm starting to feel how we're all creating this new reality. So I said this on the Monday show. I said a common metric I use for myself daily is, what am I creating with? Like, how am I creating in the world? What's the mark? What's the vibrational signature that is being transmitted from this form daily? And that's how I know where I'm at. Are we in the old paradigm? We were called to create from duality as the shadow of the self, where everything we touched was a beautiful dance of pain, right? The spirit subjugated by pain dancing in time. But now we're moving into a reality where the spirit is no longer enslaved to time. And even though it's physically manifest, the spirit is infinity in form right now. That's what's happening. And so with you, I feel this dance of love. I feel this dance of light. When you call me, I get excited. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I know that we're going to laugh. I know we're going to cry. I know we're going to
you're
be
going to try copying an Irish accent, which is outrageously bad.
I'll
Every
just do
time.
it one time.
Go for it.
My Irish accent.
Go for it.
Tree turdy on a Thursday.
Forget about it. Forget about
No.
it. This is the shit I'm listening to all the time. Every day he tries to do it. Or says, what's the crack? That's the funniest.
And what's the crack would basically...
Oh my God, you got it right.
Is it right?
See what happens when we don't try.
Is that the equivalent of like, what's up?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's happening? What's happening?
Yeah. What's happening? How you doing?
You already know that now at this stage. God.
I have a big question for you.
Oh God.
What is the biggest fear that you have yet to conquer that you're still working through?
Nothing, I'm fearless. How about that for a response? You're not going to do this. Yeah, for anybody watching right now, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get me to sing, and it's not happening. It's not happening.
No. I'm not making you sing yet.
I know what you're like.
Is that your biggest fear?
No.
To sing? Because you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you, but no.
What would be one of your bigger fears that you're working on? And as you're working through that fear, do you see it reflected in the collective?
Wow. Doing this is huge for me. Showing up, doing this. I've spent all day sick as a dog. Again, every time. Because for how long? You know, not just me, but everybody were suppressed. Told, you know, not to speak, not to feel, not to be seen, not to be heard. It goes against the grain of everything we've ever been told. Mm-hmm. You know? So honestly, showing up, doing these things, and then being really vulnerable, like what I'm doing there tonight, even you know, speaking or sharing the things that I've written, which are really, really personal. Like they're for me. They were for me, and then I just popped them into my group because my group is a safe space for me. And then I saw that some of the things that I wrote were resonating with other people. And then I was like, you know, like yourself, I've spent so long in my life feeling like I'm on my own going through these things. So if these words make somebody else understand that they're not alone, and that there's times when they feel like they're going crazy or going mad or they can't connect with anyone or anything outside of themselves, then yeah, that's this is scary as hell. Every time I do it, every time I step into this, it's very daunting.
Yeah.
But I want to free myself from myself. And so here I am. This is for me equally, you know?
Yeah.
It's for me. So I don't know. How about you? What's the biggest thing that you're afraid of? What's your biggest fear?
Stop turning this on me.
Listen, you know what? We're dancing.
Uh, Good question. I have a good amount of fears that I'm still working through. Yeah, getting on camera isn't easy, I don't think, for me. I'm still learning. One thing you mirror is the world is craving authenticity, and that's why everybody loves you.
I love pump stuff.
Yeah, and what we're experiencing is authenticity at its core, in its purest form, is to experience the deepest aspect of yourself, like bring yourself, right? And in the new paradigm, and authenticity is weaved of vulnerability that ripples out into the world. And right now, we so deeply, every single one of us, we so deeply crave the light of our own spirit.
Mm.
And so now when we're starting to see this light reflect outwards, automatically our spirits are being drawn to this energy, right? And Saskia had written about this months ago, and I keep using it because it really brought into my field of awareness, it brought language for what I was experiencing. And it is a symbiotic experience. There's a symbiosis where, just like pain vibrationally attracts itself, light is attracting itself, and it's being reflected everywhere. One of my other greater fears would definitely be um, not, I'm still working through feeling limited in expression due to what's happened to me physically.
Mm.
So even how I exercise that fear is in the poetry films. I used to love dancing. I'm not claiming to be, I was never like a great
Come on,
dancer, but
go for it. Show us your
you
moves.
want to show me a move? I'll do a little
Go
shoulder
for it.
shake.
That's
But
it.
I used to love dancing. And when I had the brain injury, I lost a lot of physical expression. And so it was actually this really beautiful experience, because when the poetry started coming and it started wanting to express itself, you'll see, like, even in like the Monarch, like I'm always like moving my arms or
Mm.
breathe. And what I realized is that I could still move. Movement was just taking on a new experience. And so I really find that energy. So still working through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you talked a minute ago about the authenticity and um, how so many people crave that for themselves, you know? Um, what I was going to say is, if I show up, no matter how I show up, I try to be as consistent as, well, you know, there's no difference between us talking right now and if I was talking to you on a video call, for example. And the reason I am the way I am now, after doing, say, the work that I've done on myself, because I have worked my ass off, because I wanted to experience that for myself, is the realization that nobody will ever in this lifetime judge me like I have judged myself, or give me as much shit as I have given myself about the things I have gone through, or the mistakes I've made. And if I could honestly say one thing to anybody who's watching this, either live or on a replay, is just be you and stop giving such a shit about what other people say or think, because that's one of the biggest prisons that I think that people now especially find themselves is their judgments of themselves. I mean, listen, I'm human. I'm doing it here tonight as I'm talking. I catch myself as I'm going along. I try not to. But the second I witness it in myself, I'll try and correct it, and I'll try and relax again, or come back into my center. But just go easy on yourself, because I think we're all winging it, And in that space of vulnerability, I think that's where we all get to actually experience that aspect of ourselves. I know I craved it my entire life. I was always trying to conform or fit in or belong, and I never did. I was absolutely the black sheep. I'm definitely the black sheep of my family. They'll all tell you that. But I don't care. I don't care, because they're the ones who ask the questions or push the boundaries or don't accept the norm. So I'd rather experience that than not now.
Yeah. That's a perfect segue into a piece I would like you to read. When you're talking about us, we're all trying our best. It's what you just wrote today. If you could share what you posted today about feeling between worlds, because I would really like to hear you speak to that. I would like to explore that with you.
The thing I put on Facebook.
Right.
As you can see, absolutely none of this is rehearsed.
We all love that tree.
What?
I said, we're loving that tree behind you. It's beautiful.
Oh, the tree, as in the actual tree, not tree, 30 tree. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll share this. So, I actually wrote this a couple of weeks ago when I was in it. And I came across it today, and I reshared it because, again, it's like I could have, written it right now because of where I find myself in my own journey. So I wrote, it feels like having one foot in one world and one foot in another, but being asked to live wholeheartedly in both. It feels like grief all over again. It feels like I have lost people I found and have loved beyond words all over again. It feels like the matrix of what I believed is my life and reality has been dismantling right before my very eyes again. And yet it is also different. It feels like a deeper detachment from the identification of anything and everything that is no longer in sync or resonance with what I know profoundly to be exclusively my truth. It feels like a necessary silence from the external world and all or any distractions that try to pull me out of my center. It feels like a profound journey of reconnection with my mind, heart, and as of now, with my physical body. I felt like an alien within my own skin for months now, a stranger quietly recalibrating what it means to see through new eyes, feel through a new heart, hear through new ears, and re-embody an ancient knowing, stagnant, waiting patiently for me to remember. My only task for months now has been choosing myself over and over and over again. My only goal has been peeling away anything and everything that has surfaced for me, causing any semblance of human pain and suffering, and getting intimate with it to uncover its treasure buried within. My only purpose has been to reconnect the shards of me scattered across many, many lifetimes and timelines in order to recognize, once again, the essence of the energy that I am and step fully into my role. I am a connector. I am. Shit.
Yeah. That piece is brilliant, and it speaks to everything we're all experiencing right now. And it's an echo of remembrance to the world, because there's a lot in that piece, but one of the main things that speaks to me is your renewed relationship with suffering and pain. where there's a holy surrender where where you're touching your pain tenderly, right? Because pain is so clever. It knows how to mask itself, and it knows how to reiterate itself into our reality, because that's what it used to have to do to survive. That's how we stayed in a state of dichotomy. But when you talk about living between worlds and honoring both, like that's what we're being called to do right now. Like, how do you honor when you get triggered and you're crying and you're in a fetal position in your bed and you're having one of those days where, and I know I have these days often where I'm like, I want to go home. I'm tired. Have I done everything I'm supposed to do? I'm exhausted. Take me home. Right. And you're there. So there's one foot in the old world while you're experiencing the pain of a deep, deep death, right? Literally the death of an entire paradigm, not just outside of you, but inside of you. And then your other foot's in the other world. And then you'll have that moment where you're like, everything is perfect. I could live in this moment forever. Those are the two worlds. That's the picture you paint for me through those words. Could you please tell me what your process was when you received this? Was it visually? Was it audibly? Was it from your heart? Was it a combination? What was your experience? What were you experiencing? Were you experiencing in that moment living in both worlds when this came through your heart?
Yeah, wow. I needed to hear that from myself again. You know, I'm awful sorry. I'm a bit wobbly here. I spoke only this evening with a really close friend of mine about this. Also Steph rocks. Never mind. No, you won't even know what that means, but she will. So for so long, all of us were like blind, just fumbling our way through life, just knowing there had to be something bigger and better, knowing that we weren't put in here to suffer and endure what we were living, what some people sadly still are. And for me in 2019, pretty much for the year, I found and reconnected with people exactly like you. And I felt like I was home. And these people were random strangers that from across the globe. And they enhanced my life in ways that I can't even still put words to. And we all very lovingly but very assertively allowed each other the safe space and a container to rediscover ourselves, to peel away these aspects of ourselves that weren't true. You know, like everything, all the things that life told you were. This year around, I don't know, I suppose it's divine timing with this whole COVID stuff, but it's like the people who I connected with fell away. Maybe they didn't fall away, maybe I did. I went into some sort of a place. I went into a place deep within me where I definitely was using the 0 point process on a daily basis. Every day I went looking for myself. So my perception of what happened was that all of the people who I had found fell away again. So life and history taught me that the people who love me leave. It must be me. I must not be good enough. It must be me. I must not be lovable enough. There must be something wrong. Why can't I feel this connection or a connection with anyone or anything out, you know? So I found like my tribe, whatever you want to put it, my soul family. And then as I turned in, like many people I really believe did, to rediscover who I am. It was the most cleverly orchestrated thing. because of our history and our attachment to our trauma, it presented itself as the same story. It's presenting itself as the same story right now to everybody. They think their world's in chaos. It's because their internal world is in chaos, and it's being presented masked, packaged like, you know, something that it's not. It's like the old. It's like history is repeating itself. The same things are happening again, but it's not. And so as I journeyed in, and it felt like people fell away from me, or situations fell away, or things changed, I would try to give myself shit, but I couldn't, because I had done the work. And I would try and judge myself for not being good enough, for not being lovable enough, or being too much, or being too passionate, or being too intense. And I'm like, hang on a minute, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like this internal dialogue that all of us are having right now, this conversation with our inner self versus conversation with our inner asshole. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm not that person. I'm not that situation. I'm not that thing. And then this love, like you're talking about, this love would basically engulf me. Like another voice, another aspect of me saying it's okay. It's okay. And then when I did the 0 pointing work, this is my like favorite part of the entire year, was the day that I found out what I came in here to do. Morgan Lee was privy to being there with me. But the day I merged all of these aspects of myself, the kid version, the teenage version, the version in my 20s, the version in my 30s, and my current version, and my future self, who has her shit together on epic proportions, apparently. And brought in my higher self to quite literally encompass all of us, was the day I reforged a connection within myself that no one or thing can ever, ever, ever take from me. The only person that can mess with that connection is myself. And now I am palpably aware when I go to self-sabotage, and I won't even put up with my own shit. So please don't expect me to put up with yours. That's the way I approach it now. That's the way I'm approaching it. So this space in between two worlds was like, Melissa, you can't say that. You can't be like that. You can't, do that. You can't post that. What would this person think? What would that person think? You definitely can't try and do that. God forbid, people will judge the shit out of you. And again, this louder, way louder voice now would go, can you seriously judge yourself any more than what you've already done? I'll be like, no. And then it'd be like, okay, let's do this shit. I'm like, okay. And that's kind of the way it's been. So when I witness something like the grief or the loss of someone, because history told me that the loss of someone comes with immense trauma, immense pain, immense suffering, whatever the storyline might have been, we're afraid to feel. And now the freedom I've given myself by doing this work on myself is I can witness the loss of a person and love the absolute shit out of them because of the gift that I've been presented with via them, if that makes sense. A couple of weeks back, I know he won't be watching this, so it's okay to say, but I'm on the phone talking to Morgan. I just come down from work. I'm in the car. I'm all of my stuff is like a tornado. All of my pieces were like, cycling right in front of me. And I see my ex-husband at the door of my house, and I'm looking at him. And then this big wave of pure love just engulfs me. And I start bawling, crying. And Morgan's laughing because that's what she always does. She just laughs at me when I'm highly emotional. And I'm like, oh my God, I love him so much. I love him so much. Not because I'm not in love with him. I don't want to be remarried to him or anything, but for what me and him signed up to do here together. what a gift. If it wasn't for my experiences with him in that chapter of my life, I mean, I wouldn't have the 3 awesome kids I have right now. I wouldn't have even, my world wouldn't have contracted to the point where I had to do something. I had to take some action to stop the pain, to stop the suffering. And I'm not talking about any association with him. I'm talking about the turmoil I was in before I even stepped into that man's life, or vice versa. And I'm looking at him going, oh my God. And you can have that. You can have that freedom. I'm not going to open the window and say, hey, I love you. No, I'm not. I was hiding in the car so he wouldn't see me, and he left and stuff. And it was my experience. But I gave myself that space to feel it, you know. So the grief that we feel, the loss, it can be with absolute gratitude. That's the in between two worlds thing, is the realization that life is happening for you always, not to you. And that how you respond is your power. Equally how you react, if you want to go down that route. Is it taking you closer to or further from your center? That's the tipping point for me. So between two worlds, I think that's why a lot of people are in a lot of turmoil at the minute, because the split second, you know, something feels like it did before, because we've trauma bonded to it. We can't separate it. But again, that's for me, because a lot of us, and I'm still working on it, have huge programs running within us that we're not even aware of, that run us if we don't highlight them. I don't know if that even answers your question.
It did. You did great. I was letting you, the flow was moving through you. Look, the nerves are gone.
No,
You feel that?
No,
You've merged with the stillness.
Yeah.
I saw a couple cool comments I wanted to say. Someone wrote, "Thank you, Melissa. This is so pure." And I loved Suzanne Amara wrote, "Fierce grace." I think when you're telling that story about, I think what you illustrated for us was the manifestation of grace, that grace coming from deep within and freeing you when you saw and had compassion for an experience or a relationship that once had felt maybe confining and felt like it broke you, right? When you're explaining the welling up of that compassion, right? There's an element of grace. I loved that. B wrote, totally answered, like totally answered the question. But I wanted to ask you, I know I wanted to ask you about zero pointing, like just what that's meant to you. Like what has that been? Like, how would you put that into words? Like, I know it's been a gift for you and you talk to me about it a lot. And what has that been?
This is where I probably struggle for words, for sure. I mean, it's absolutely everything to me. I am so passionate about this. I am so passionate, and I am humbled that I get to share this process alongside Morgan, who created it, with the world. Like, you've no idea, because it works. It has worked for me. It has transformed my entire life. I have got people like you calling me, and Morgan, and my friends that are close to me, because I've had and created. I've done the work. I know Morgan's always correcting me and catching me when I you know give credit to anything outside of myself. And you know, she's right, because it's not been easy to lean in and literally go digging for your stuff, to look for the things that have caused you to repeatedly come undone. So for me, what zero pointing has done has given me a tool to rediscover myself, my true self, minus the distortions, minus the judgments, minus any projections or attachments. and find my way back home. So I know without question, and I've done huge work over the last 9 months in particular with this, that if I'm triggered by you, you are me. And I go in. And I allow myself to feel. I allow all of my emotions, my beliefs, my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences to all just bubble back up, knowing that I am in the safest hands that I could possibly be in, which are mine. And in that space, I get to really, really, really experience it all. Then go and find out what the opposite is, because that's what I want to experience. But when we're hardwired to believe that there's only pain and suffering, that you know, all of the shitty things we've all been through. I mean, I could pick up one of my 0 point journals and list off any list, and I will guarantee you will have resonance with every single word that I write, because I am you and you're me and we're one, and having this same experience. But we think that it's just us, or we think that, you know, we don't really deserve. It's, you know, it's okay for her, she can have this, that, and the other, but it's for everybody. But you got to lean in. You've got to lean into yourself, and you've got to allow yourself to do all of the things that life told you not to. Tap into the kid version of you. Ask her or him, what did you think of this? How did you feel? How did this make you feel? Ask the teenager. My greatest gifts have come from my teenage self. Wow. Like, and a lot of my conflict, what's the word? Conflict resolution. I'm trying to pacify her a lot and say sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And this won't happen again on my watch. Not now. Because when you've accessed all of those versions of you and you love the shit out of them from the most unconditional place, with the compassion for what you have actually endured, what you've experienced, you know, you are not going to let anyone or anything compromise any version of those again. Equally, what it does, it allows that if I am triggered, it allows me to identify which version of me tries to jump out past me to try and box the head off someone, or project right back, or whatever. And this current version is like, it's okay. I got this. Or sometimes I don't. I'm human. I lose my shit sometimes too. And if I do, I'm like, okay, where did that come out of? And who is just after doing that? And then I go and become the remedy for myself, to myself. So that's what 0 pointing has done for me in a nutshell. And again, I don't even know if that's answered your question. There are no words for this. Like, there are no words. This is something that, this isn't a temporary, fleeting thing. This is permanent. This is this process allows you to take full accountability and responsibility of your journey, your life from the past, your present, and your future, and not put it in anybody else's hands. What happens when we do that? If I put my happiness in your hands, you're going to drop it. Of course you are. It's not yours to hold.
What I get from it is, it's a sacred instrument, 0 pointing, a sacred instrument that unlocks the gift of the inner process, where we get to come back into 0 point in birth. I didn't even realize, but we've been doing it. It's 2:03. I wanted to mention something before I read something to you. We have something special coming. Real talk.
Oh, yeah.
Real talk with Melissa Deehan on Soology. And this is a treat. Are we allowed to do, or is your first guest a surprise? Are we allowed to touch that? What's going on with that?
Yeah, the guest is a surprise. I'm winging it now. I'm absolutely going to be winging it. This is vulnerability central, and I'll just show up and take it from there.
Yeah.
something.
Well,
Yeah.
what I know, and I've talked to you, and I've talked to Israel, and I was telling Morgan last night. You're ready. You know you're ready. Your heart is ready to share what it has uncovered. It is more than evident. It's coming through right now. Everyone can feel it. I haven't been able to look. I haven't looked at all these, but you have unlocked the power of your heart. And I am so grateful on a personal level that I get to experience that in our friendship. And I'm really excited. Morgan just wrote 23rd of November, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Melissa and guest. I know who the guest is. And all I'm going to say is this human is amazing. And I really love this human. And the energy wave that is going to be created with both of your hearts is exciting. And I just want to look into your eyes on the screen and tell you thank you, first and foremost, for being in my life and for everything that you know you've done for me, because you know we laugh, we cry, we have fun, we sing to each other. And I would like to read the poem that came through for you. So here it is. Crescent rose, bloodshed tears. You have withstood the night. Angels and demons bow, while creation orchestrates a symphony to honor your soul. Your eyes write words to show us what they have seen. Your wounds have become compassion, and you show us what you know with how you love. Everything has waited here for you. Through your pain, you have forged a fire. Now, everything that is not of love will ash as you dance in what once was your sorrow. Stars light the night, moons lead oceans, faith births wings, and suffering guides us back to the heart of the ceaseless. Melissa, you are love.
Atomic love bomb. My God, thank you. I mean, I blew up Denise's comments, her comments last week on how are you not going to combust in this conversation, and then you pull that move. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, because that poem wanted me and everyone else to feel your soul. That's your soul. That's you. I'm thanking you for the power and majesty of your spirit and what you are birthing in this world, because it is pure and it is true. And I can't wait to watch you shine your light on Sology, doing your thing, because every day you are a reflection of truth. And every day I, by being graced in your presence, have unlocked more of my power. So I love you. Thank you so much. And November 23rd, let's all check out the beautiful Melissa.
Thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Thank you for seeing me. I mean, I can't even. I got nothing. You just it cracked my heart right open again. Mwah.
I love you.
Thank you.
Mwah. Be with you soon. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us. All right.